Hey, how's everybody doing? And welcome to another episode of Coach Deborah Smith's Build Your Best Life. You know, it's better to train early than to fix later. And we're here with conversation with the guys. And I'm gonna tell you, this is gonna be a good one. And we got three guys that know what time it is, and I'm glad to be a part of this. And I'm so happy that we're back together again. It's been a minute, and I'm just so happy to just be a part of this. And let's just jump right into it. And let me introduce you to the distinguished people that we have here today. Starting out with Coach Ricardo Miller. How you doing today, sir?
Man, I am doing extremely well. I am excited on this beautiful Saturday morning. I want people to know the goal is for us to talk about something that oftentimes needed to be talked about, but probably up to this point weren't talked about. And we're going to try to dissect this as men. So I'm excited.
Okay, great. And then we have over there Deacon Miller. I'm sorry, Deacon Smith. Deacon Smith. I'm sorry, Deacon Smith. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. It's been a great day. You know, we had this hurricane come through part of Florida, but we got the winds and the rain. But other than that, hey, it's been a great day.
Man, God is good all the time. God is great, man. And I'm just glad you're safe and everybody's doing good down there in Florida. And that's just hope that that storm goes through and just stay away from y'all, because y'all get enough hurricanes and rains as it is. Y'all don't need no more of that.
Well, you're right.
But we definitely keep our prayers up for you and your family and everybody down there. And we have today Pastor Braddock Clare. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. Doing very good. We got a little bit of that tropical storm there just before it went up to Florida. But we're good. No major damage, and we're grateful. God has been faithful. Good. But I'm so privileged to be here among you gentlemen, to share in the conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, that's good. We're definitely glad to have you, and it's going to be a good one today. And our topic today is nothing other than a man and his money. A man and his money. And before we jump into that, the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the worth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. And that's Proverbs 13:22. And a man and his money is a very, very serious and topic that should be discussed, because with inflation going on, all these different things that's happening in the world today, we got to teach our youth, got to teach our young people how to deal with these type things, and to make sure that they know what to do with their money. So I'm going to jump right into the question, and I'm going to direct it straight to Coach Ricardo Miller first. And the question is, yes, you. I'm gonna get you first, okay? And the question is this: one of the most significant tests of a man's character in his relationship with money. Do you agree with that? What's your thoughts on that?
Money.
Yeah, look at that.
I had to pull my wallet out, man. I had to pull my wallet out because, Coach, listen, Coach Woodbond, what I see in the back of the background with Deacon Dan, I was like, man, that whole backdrop is money.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even notice that. Look at that money, man. That's cold. See, hey, Pastor Claire, they didn't let us know, they was going to do anything with money. We would have had something. We broke. We ain't got no money. They got the money.
They're just rolling, man.
To answer your question, when the whole element of a man and his money and the integrity position that follows, I think it's very important for us to understand the role money plays in our navigating life. The platform here is called Build Your Best Life. Well, it's going to take some money. It's going to take some money, but you have to have integrity on your journey in building your life And long-term wise, that integrity will help you, because you could try to build a life without integrity and get some money in building the life, but it won't last and it won't feel as rewarding as a person with integrity. I want to say this. I grew up in a single parent home. We didn't talk about money. I grew up in a home where there was no father figure in the home. So the whole element of seeing a man provide for the family was something that was difficult for me, and that or didn't see. I didn't see that. And then the third part about it was is that money was never a conversation to sit down and say, you know what, make sure you make that money, make sure you understand money, make sure that you put some aside for a rainy day. Stuff like that wasn't introduced. But when it comes to integrity with money and having a proper involvement with it, I got that real late. I loved the Lord, but I was broke for a long time.
That's what usually happens,
I was broke for a long time.
People in love somehow end up broke for a while,
Okay, Deacon Dan, what's your thoughts on a significant test of a man's character with his relationship with money?
Well, I'm agree with Coach Miller there. Integrity. In my family, we grew up. My father, he never really discussed money. His whole idea: make sure my family's taken care of, and they're lack of nothing. But one of the things that I admire about him, he worked 2 jobs. He made things happen. He made sure that we lack nothing. The family lacked nothing. And so that's one of the things that I picked up. I'm gonna disagree with Coach Miller on he broke coming up. I mean, I don't say I broke. I didn't have money.
Right.
I wasn't broke, but I was able to get the things that I needed.
Nice.
I don't believe Coach Ricardo Miller was broke either.
I don't think he was either.
I don't believe that.
I don't think he was either. I don't think he was either. Because
hey Miller, that means you've done a great job of erasing that, or at least making it very difficult for people to believe that.
That's right. That's exactly right. Because when you're a bully, you ain't broke.
Right. I wanted to go there, but
someone got your money.
I had to throw that one in there. Okay. Pastor Claire, how you feel about that? A man's character with money.
I've always lived by this, and I always tell people that money is a magnifier, and it will either magnify your strengths or it will magnify your weaknesses. And so I tend to think that if there are flaws to your character, and you get money, yeah, you're gonna have those flaws magnified even more. So I tend to believe that there are already character flaws there, and so when you get money, some of those things come out, and even more so when you lack money, some of those things come out, and even more so. It goes on both sides. So I tend to believe that money is a magnifier. And so, it could derail a lot of people based on how you treat it and the esteem that you have for it. So, it's one of those things to really be conscious of, because you could find yourself arrogant when you start making a little bit more money, or you could find yourself a little bitter and trying to get things because you lack the money. So it's one of those things to really consider, but it definitely magnifies. It's funny, I was listening to Deacon Smith and Pastor Ricardo there, and they come from different things, and I tell people I have the privilege of having all the experiences. So I was born to a teenage mother, but I grew up in my aunt and uncle's house. They were married. you know, and then they got divorced, you know, so I ended up in a broken home too. So I ended up going to my mother, who was married at the time. By that time, she was married. Then her and her husband broke up, so I ended up in two broken homes, you know. So then I eventually ended up in a single parent home. But I learned a lot along the way, and I had a little blend of it, and I'm so glad you got me to come in afterwards, because unlike Ricardo, who didn't have a father figure there, I did have that father figure there, and my uncle. And my uncle was sort of like Deacon Smith's father. We never had to worry about groceries. You know, everything was taken care of. He worked. I don't think my aunt worked for a majority of my childhood that I can remember. I remember her getting it, I think, as things were deteriorating in that relationship. But before that, I didn't remember that. But he made sure everything was taken care of. You know, he provided. Now, the money also brought out his character flaws, because he was also an abuser, and he also was a chronic, what we call in the Bahamas, sweetheart. You know, so those flaws came out with that.
Right. And you know what, and just to add a little bit to that, you know, when it comes to money, and especially, you know, with, you know, men's character, you know, you can tell the difference of someone who has it versus the difference of someone that doesn't. And you can tell the difference of someone that boasts it and someone that may have it, but don't, you know, flaunt it like that. And my thing is, you know, especially coming up, you know, my father was one of those type people. You knew he had money because every time he turned around, he had a different suit on. You know, he would always have nice cars and stuff like that. And you can't get that without money unless you're doing something else. So you can tell his character. You can tell his character, you know, but then, you know, I grew up to learn that, you know, money does not define you. You define you. Your character defines you. And my thing is, I love money. Don't get me wrong. I love money, but I know money can make you or break you. So, you know, those are different, you know, characters, you know, as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to move on to the next question. And the next question is, there's nothing wrong with having money. However, handling cash or allowing it to control you, make you or break you in different aspects of your life. Let's discuss this. And I'm going to tell you, I just finished saying that and I didn't even look at that question. But that was something that, you know, I definitely, you know, that's how I feel. So I'm going to go to Deacon Smith first. Okay, what I said was handling cash or allowing it to control you can make you or break you, you know, in different aspects of your life. Is there anything wrong with having money?
No, there's nothing wrong with having money, because you got to have money in order to buy things, in order to survive. You're not going to survive this world without money. I mean, there's no way. But how you handle that money is a different story. You know, you can go out and you could take. Well, a lot of people tell me, you know, you're a big baller. You got the money. You don't need to worry about it. No. It ain't that I got the money.
Right.
I just put script. Hey, God bless me. And I'm gonna use the money the way that He would have me use. I'm gonna be a good steward of His money.
Right.
So, and it always says, you know, if I want to have abundance, I got to be a good steward.
That's right. That's exactly right.
You know, you got to be a good steward of money, but there's nothing wrong with having money, but it's the way you handle your money.
Right.
You can have it, and just like the Bible says, you know, you have it, it can fly away.
Oh yeah, with the quickness. This is quick. Just as quick as you get it, it can be gone.
Right.
And go ahead.
Let me jump on that with Deacon Dan. I grew up in the Bahamas as a kid. I sold newspapers. I sold newspaper when I was about 10 years old. And then I packed groceries. Pastor Claire don't know about packing no groceries. That's,
no, you
know, I packed groceries and Winn-Dixie / City Market was the company. They didn't pay the boys. You had to serve your way to making a couple of dollars. And so my mother didn't have to buy a uniform for me. I mean, as early as maybe when I was by 12, I started taking the lead and getting my own uniform and a number of other things. And so getting that cash, and I remember about between 12 and 13, I went to Commonwealth Bank in the Bahamas and opened my savings account, and I started putting in money every week. Now, the problem was I didn't learn that putting that money away was supposed to be for a jump start.
Right.
So when it was time to leave high school, about 16 and a half, going on 17, I quit my job and spent about 10 months to a year being a baller. Every Friday I went to the bank and I withdrew something with my friends who are unemployed just like me. And we stood on the corner and drink beers and had fresh clothes on because I was cleaning out my account from what I had made from 13 to about 17. And it was supposed to be a jump start, but I didn't do it that way. And then I realized later on that the opportunity for me to have had a jump start in that little earning was there because no wisdom was given.
Right. Okay. Pastor Claire, how you feel about that as far as handling cash and allowed to control you?
I heard this. I can't remember who said it. Someone said, money makes a great servant, but a poor master. I maybe one of you guys know who quoted that, but I heard that before. And I think that's how you manage money. You know, like you say, money can do a lot of things. Even the Bible says money answered all things. So having money, I think, is a plus. And if you have a problem with having money, I can wire you my information. You can send it to me, and I'll help get that problem off your hands. You know, right? But you can do a whole lot as long as you understand that money has a purpose. You know, and you use it to do the things that you desire to see, to get the kind of outcomes you desire to see. Now, again, that will be hinged to what kind of character traits you got, based on what we talked about earlier, you know, because that will determine the kind of outcomes that you want. Because of course, people will use money to get some pretty, you know, untoward. That's a good word. Untoward things, yeah, you know. Right. So, but yeah, there's definitely no problem with it. You just have to know what the relationship is with it that you have with it. I always tell people this joke. My mom told me about money, to practice good money stuff when I was young. She said to me, she said, Brad, you know, whenever you get a quarter, take it and put it aside in a coin container or a bank or something like that, because it's among the change, but it has the most value and it adds up the fastest. And I learned that. And you would be surprised at how quickly those quarters add up into a lot of dollars. The funny thing was later in life, my mother was a poor money handler. She wasn't good with money at all. But she gave me that principle, and I hung on to that. I held on to that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was like Coach Ricardo Miller. You know, I used to bag groceries at the Giant. And I had a paper route as well. So that's why I started laughing when he said that, because I had to get up 4 o'clock in the morning and get out there. And I had a bike. You know, back then, you know, they didn't have the truck, you know, have you on the trucks and you go around to the houses. You had your own paper route. And I had to carry all these different papers, throw them on the doors and stuff like that. And I bagged groceries in the whole 9 yards. But I wish I had someone tell me about how to keep money, how to save money, how to make money work for me. Because with all that money I used to make at a young age, man, I'd be a millionaire right now, man. If somebody told me about that, I'm serious. I would be big. I spent a lot of money. I started working. I got my first job at 12 years old. I started working at 12 years old, and I'm talking about actually getting a check. You know, because back then they used to have.
When did you guys have time to play, man? What in the world y'all doing working at 12, man?
Now, I wanted money. I can care less about it. I mean, I played whenever I had time to play, but I wanted money. You know, so
I'll share something with you guys. We weren't allowed to work necessarily like that. In that we had money as a family, we struggled, especially after mom and dad. That's why I call my aunt and uncle after they broke up. We struggled financially, but we still weren't allowed to work because we were always told to focus on our education. And then when we did get a little something to do, it would always be something on the weekend. And like you guys were working there, man, I was making $25 an hour at 12 years old. I would do electrical work on the weekend with one of my big cousins and get paid like $25 an hour because I would make like $50 for 2 hours of work. And the only thing I had to do is pull some wires and hook up some switches and some sockets and bam, good. You guys work hard, man. I see why you're so wealthy, man. Maybe if I worked harder in my younger days.
Oh, you mean Deacon Smith and Coach Miller? They the wealthy ones. I ain't got no money.
But again, I think, and it's something that a lot of us miss too, because I knew how to save money and I knew how to make money, but I didn't know how to invest money. And I think I missed a lot of that in my younger days because I'm with you, Doc. I would have been a lot further if I had those people in my ear who could have said, put that money in this, put that money in that.
It's crazy that I had an opportunity, Pastor Clay. You're familiar with the late Bishop Dean Wells. I sat on the forklift right next door to where you live in the Bahamas, and Bishop told me one time he's opened the newspaper up and he said, Ricardo, look at this right here. And he showed me, he said, you see this coming? This is going to take off in the Bahamas. He said, what you going to do with that ASU that you got coming up? And at the time I was in an ASU that I believe was about to give me about $5,000. So he said, what are you going to do with that money? I said, man, I'm going to buy me a car. And he says, a car? I would put all that money in this right here. Pastor Claire, that was Cable Bahamas was coming to the Bahamas.
I missed that too, bro. I missed that too. I kick myself all the time thinking about that.
Cable Bahamas was coming. Watch this. Long story short, there was another window came through. I got a lump sum of money. And Bishop says, what you going to do with that money, boy? I said, Bishop, I ain't never been on vacation. He says, what you going? I said, we going to Miami for a weekend. I was like, he said, I wouldn't do that with that money. I said, what would I do? He said, that bridge. He said, them bonds that they said, I would find every bit of money I can and buy into that bridge. Pastor Claire, that second bridge that eventually was built. But here's the deal. I did learn how to save and I did learn how to work for money. I've never been short on working for money, and the basic process of savings, I never had an issue with that either. That investment piece, Pastor, just like you said, Claire, because everyone that I knew that I'm aware of who invested in Cable Bahamas or the bridge in the Bahamas are extremely financially secure.
Yeah. Yep.
That's great. That is great. Okay, gentlemen, a buzzword that has been around for several years, affluenza and influenza, defined as a painful, contagious, socially transmitted condition of debt, anxiety, overload, and waste. Influenza may be a condition, but how do the conditions resonate? How do the conditions resonate? I'm going to start off with Deacon Smith on this.
Thank you, Jesus.
I'm going to go back very slowly because that was a long one there.
I was thinking about it. I just knew. I said, okay, he's going to Pastor Claire because I need to get me.
That was a long one, but I'm going to shorten it up and make it a little sweeter, okay?
I do that.
Affluenza and influenza, designed as a painful, contagious, socially transmitted condition of debt, anxiety, and overload and waste. How do those conditions resonate with people when it comes to money? I guess my question is, okay, if they're defining it as painful and contagious, is it a socially transmitted condition of debt, or is it something that you're born with, or you just happen to have just being bad with money?
I'll jump in while Deacon Smith thinking that.
Thank you, Sarah.
Listen, I just think that was so funny. I just thought that was so funny. But the thing is about money, and it's amazing. We're in man talk, but man and woman tend to look at money a different way. We get different things from money. For a woman, money is about sort of like her security. She needs to make sure that she has that. So whenever the broke fellas or you got trouble in your relationship and financial stuff, her whole world is insecure, and she's always uptight and anxious and stuff like that. Man, we just get depressed about. I mean, because unfortunately we tie so much of our identity and our self-esteem toward how well we do. It's amazing how, and you guys can tell this or you can test it. When you meet a guy for the first time and he's doing well, he tells you who he is, first of all, by his name, and then he tells you what he does. So, because he ties his identity to some type of status kind of thing with that, and that's a lot of man relationships with money. So when they're hurting with money, they really hurt it. They hurt it, and it does become painful. It becomes stressful because they feel like everything is falling in and they have lost control. And they think that it's not going to show up right. So, that is a real thing. It is a real thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and I agree with that because when you have money, it seems like you're happy, but when you don't have it, you're sad. And my thing is, money does that to some people, and it doesn't do that to everybody. Because money can't buy you happiness. You know what I'm saying? You can have millions and millions of dollars and still be in pain. You could be going through a whole lot that money cannot take care of. So it does resonate in different ways, and it depends on the person. You know what I'm saying? It depends on the person. All right,
I like to plug in there too with the whole fact of there are some people who it's an infection for poverty that has been passed on to them from a generational standpoint that caused some people to not actually be able to do well with money because of association, because of community, because of cultural bad behaviors when it comes to money. And then there are some people who somewhere along the line, like leadership, it is not known to be said that someone is born a leader, but then there's some people who are born with more leadership tendencies than others. Some just have it a little bit more innate built in. Well, I believe there are some people who naturally have a little bit more innate ability to make money and to do well with money, similar to that of some people. They look like they're natural leaders, where somewhere along the line that is still developed. It was developed, it connected with them somehow. So I think there's two things one must look at. And for people watching us on this Saturday, think about this as a mom. If you're watching as a mom, if you're watching as a dad, when you're thinking about your kids, environments affect how and what you do with money. Equally so, culture and family practice affect what you do with money. And you need to really pay attention, because a lot of times if you don't do right in the culture or establishing a value practice about money, you could be passing on an infection that actually hurts the next generation, I think.
Very well put. Very well put. Okay, Deacon Smith, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'm gonna kick back in a little bit. I go back to the days where I don't think it's something that is contagious, or maybe not. Maybe not real painful.
Yeah.
Let me ride where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, my first thing I said before I get, when I leave my mama's house, my father's house, I'm gonna have my own house. I didn't rent. I didn't get an apartment. I bought a house.
Nice.
Then I looked back and told my sons the same thing, and my daughter. But to God be the glory, each one of them bought their house.
That's great.
None of them rent.
That's not easy. It's not easy.
You know, it's not easy, but none of them rent. But what my thing was, why are you going to waste that money on an apartment when you could be buying a house, you know, paying it off?
Getting that equity in the whole 9 yards.
Right. And, you know, I look at the two oldest boys, and both of them that had 2 houses.
Wow.
They
Some
bought
people
one.
don't get a chance to get one in their lifetime.
Right. They bought the first one, and then they turn around and bought the second one.
Wow.
Let me ask you this question, Deacon Dan, because that's such a great deal. I grew up in a home where the first half of your adulthood is pretty much spent in renting a house. What was it that caused you to, one, get that revelation, and then 2, pass it on to your children that, hey, I'm going to try help you to set yourself up so as soon as you get out of my house or college that you move into home ownership? What was the secret sauce to that? Because I would love to pass it on to my son.
Well, one of the basic things I was I didn't like to waste money on a house. And back then, a house was easy to get than an automobile. You go out there and get you a $25,000, $30,000 home, and you catch trouble getting a $10,000 automobile. So I found that, and my biggest thing was when we, like you said, we both were coming up, we had my parents rented, you know, for a while. And then I think I was probably 5 or 6. They finally bought a house. And so from then on, I guess I really didn't pay attention to why they was renting. But when they was buying a house, because back then, I'm gonna be honest with you, my daddy bought a house. He paid $3,500 for it.
Wow.
$3,500.
Wow.
But he was, you know, like he was such a carpenter. He added on 2 bedrooms. He had on a bath. He closed in the front porch. I mean, he did a whole lot to the house. Yeah. So, but I saw then, okay, wait a minute, hold up, wait a minute, why am I thought about it, and I thought about, you know, my sisters, some other friends of mine, they was going out there renting. So I said, wait a minute, what's my key to this? Is, do I want to continue to rent? Do I want to waste my money on renting? Or do I want to have some asset when I first come out? 21, you know, I'm talking about 74, wow. 1974, 21. Yep. You know, my asset, I bought a home, was cost me $24,000.
Wow.
You know, with
know what, to piggyback on what Deacon Smith was saying, Coach Miller, I would say that, you know, especially if you're going to talk to the younger generation or the younger kids coming up in reference to buying a home, you know, create a budget for them will be the first thing. You know, teach them how to manage debt. You know, also, you know, set boundaries on their spending. You know, show them what they need to do to maximize their savings or whatever. You know, and now you got to have them learn to understand taxes. They need to understand that as well, and understand the investing. So my thing is, there's several different ways that you can talk to your kid about it, you know, and, you know, that's the world that we're living in today. And they need to know that, because things are so tricky now. You know, people are always trying to get over on people, you know, even selling cars, selling houses, whatever. And if they have that type, you know, basic knowledge of what I just said, then those are the things that will help them go a long way, you know, in trying to, you know, getting a home or whatever. So that's why I just want to piggyback off of Deacon Dan. You know.
Yeah. Then I look at ours 2 kids. After me and Deborah decided to build, we looked at it and we said, okay, before we retire, we're gonna build another home. So we built another home, and I guess they saw that. So they done, I don't know, I can't really say whether they put that in their mind, particularly my two sons, the oldest ones, but they did that.
Yeah.
One even called me and said, "Hey, Pop, you got a room over there?" I said, yeah. And his wife said, "Did you call Miss Deborah?" So, your dad ain't on one stay. Did you call Miss Deborah? But anyway, make a long story short, Deborah pleased to have them to stay.
Yeah,
right.
So they stayed with us. They rented out their first house.
Yeah.
Right.
Stayed with us for something like 6 months. They had another house built.
Wow,
That's great.
Yeah. They had another house built. And then the oldest boy, he had his first one built. And I think he stayed there maybe every 4 years, 5 at the most. And he had another one built. So, and he sold his past one. And I always told me, if you're going to build one to your design.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even me and Deborah moving this one we're in now, I always tell them, I said, this is what happens. Sometimes God have a ram in the bush. We walked away from our contract. The house we're in now, walked away from it due to the fact that I didn't like a particular construction they was doing, or some of the work they was doing. Make a long story short, I was trying to figure out how to get my $5,000 down. I paid back.
Right.
Come back.
That.
The salesperson told me, he said, "Mr. Smith, I was going to call you. They don't reduce his house. All the upgrades, over $120,000 worth of upgrade.
Wow.
They done took the price off of that, and they done lowered the house another $10,000.
God is good all the time.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So he said, the only thing I ask you to do is close in 30 days. I said, there's no problem, because we had all that set up.
I'd close that in 10 days, bro.
Yeah, we closed it, and I told Deborah, I said, this is what you designed.
Yeah.
But that's good.
So, we looked at another one, which had been maybe another $100,000 more what we paid for ours. But we looked at another one, and we put a contract on it. So, I mean, it was a nice home also, but that wasn't the home that she designed.
Yeah.
So we just come on back to where we at.
Man, there's so much lesson in what you just said. We definitely almost need to do a talk on that, because I think so much is not said for the next generation coming up to think like what you just mentioned.
That's exactly right. See, Pastor Clay, I told you who had the money, right?
Yeah. You did. You had inside.
Okay, moving on, gentlemen. Do you believe money plays a part in relationship strategies? Do you believe money plays a part in relationship strategies? And I'm going to go straight to Pastor Claire.
Oh, it should. It definitely should. I think that any relationship, and basically any relationship, you should set boundaries and expectation with regards to money. I like Pastor Ricardo always say this. He says you don't lend friends money, so that kind of thing like that, and that's how you have to begin with every relationship. So you have to have a strategy for money for every relationship. Right? That's among your siblings, if your parent is still alive, if your children, your friends, and of course your spouse. You have to set the strategy with how money looks in that relationship. So my mom's dead now. God rest her soul. Okay, Mom, I do have my own family, but I'm willing to do X amount, with you, with regards to that, but my wife, we have to be open and transparent and put everything on the table, because we have to have a design. We have to be on the same page, or that's going to lead to some frustrations along the way. If we say we want to do this, but we don't stick to the plan, hey, guess what happens? We're going to be derailed, and that's going to bring a source of those pain you just talked about, frustration, anxiety, all of those other things that we talked about earlier. So I think with every relationship, with my children, the same thing. I always tell my children this, I got this from Bill Cosby. Me and your mother have money. You guys are broke. Just remember that.
All right, Coach Miller, what's your thought?
I think it's almost up. You go ahead, Pastor. You have one more point on that?
I'm sorry, Pastor Clay.
Yeah, just one more of that. And then I also teach my children. I spend time with my children. I teach them not to waste money, and that everything you get, you try to use it, invest it, and try to save for what you want. You know, don't get in the habit of getting into debt early. Don't get in the habit of wasting things, because sometimes we miss that aspect of it. When my oldest son, and I'll cut off with this one, when my oldest son in particular was, I think it was about grade 3 or so, we started to give him lunch money, you know, but he used to lose things. He would leave his shirt at school. He'd lose his necktie. He would lose socks. He would lose shoes, you know. So, you know, by grade 4, I was tired of this now. So I said, listen, you don't have respect for my money. I took him into the store, you know, over here, that's like Sandy's Stores and Think Pastor got him. And I showed him the price. Necktie, $12.95. Shirt, $17.95. Pants, $14.95, right? I says, now, whenever you lose something, you're going to pay for this. He didn't realize what I was going to do, you know? So every time I gave him his lunch money, if he had lost something, I said, okay, remember now, you lost that necktie? I bought the necktie, but now you got to pay me back. And so I would take the money back out of his lunch money. So they listen, so now you got to make adjustment to your budget because you caused me to make adjustment to my budget. You can't buy what you want for lunch anymore. But what that did for him, though, is that taught him to, first of all, I didn't have to worry about him losing anything until he graduated. He went straight through high school without losing any more uniforms after he had to pay for stuff. But also, he kept the habit that, hey, look here, that means I didn't have to be spending all of my money for lunch. And so he started saving. And so by the time he graduated, he had a bank account with money and looking for opportunities to invest. So, yeah, you definitely have to have a strategy with money in relationships.
I love that strategy with money or relationship. One of the things I taught my son growing up, I remember him saying to me, Dad, when am I going to get an allowance? And I said, why should you get an allowance? He said, because I took out the trash and I would have washed the dishes. I said, I don't do allowance for those things. He said, well, what would you do allowance for? I said, I'll do allowance for reading books. I said, you read a book, you get an allowance, right? And so I put a certain amount on every book. And I said, well, you read this book. And then he started reading books. Then I moved it up because he became an avid reader. He reads 100 times better than I can and still do. And then I said, there are certain books you got to read now, and there's a better cash value. So Think and Grow Rich, the compound effect, becoming a leader. So I was like, this is how you're going to gain your allowance. When he went off to college, I said, now that you're in college, while you're in college, there'll be a college bonus stipend you're going to receive. While you're in school, you'll get a stipend while you're in school to help offset some stuff. But when school is done, please note, the stipend ends as well. So I think the whole concept of relationship and understanding, coming together, my wife and I now having family meetings where we're talking a budget, where we're talking, hey, where we're trying to go. This is something I didn't grow up with. This is not something I picked up by the previous environment which I grew up in. I had to learn this along the way. And so I believe in the importance of having a healthy relationship with money, with the people you're having a relationship with.
Right. Okay. All right, Deacon Smith.
Well, it's a relationship and you got to have that because let's look at friends when they're want to borrow money.
Yeah.
Deborah and I, we don't say borrow. If they want to borrow some money, if we don't have money to give them, don't look for it coming back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then we don't loan.
Yeah.
Right.
But if we have it, they say, well, we gonna borrow it. if they don't give it back, we don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Doing that. But and the relationship plays a whole lot because even the husband and wife, they sit down and they do a budget and they spend, and then I just love my wife the way she do things, especially for Christmas. She always had a Christmas saving.
Wow.
Always. And when it comes to for the children and the grandchildren, boom, that's it. I don't say anything. I stay silent. See, they the grands get what they want to get. They get a list. But you got to have, that relationship you got to have, and strategy. You got to have a strategy. You got to have a relationship.
Yeah, that keeps the relationship healthy, especially if you're parent and you're working together. Because once you start to try to go separate, then the devil come between that, man, and the next thing you know, man, y'all going at it, and your marriage start to falling apart, and everything start going bad. So for the people that's listening on this Saturday, just know that it's better to work together than to be separate, especially if you're married or in a relationship with someone when it comes to finances. Right. So that's definitely a big thing, especially what you were saying, Deacon Smith. So the next question is, do men obsess about their significant others making more money than them? How do you feel about that, Coach Miller? How do you feel about if your wife made way more money than you? How does that, would that affect you?
The younger me, probably. But I came to understand we're not living in the day that we were living in. And then also, it wouldn't affect me, and I would initially allow that to be okay because I'm coming up. I'm that kind of guy. Right. I do whatever. I match environments. I not only match environments, I match energy, and so forth. And so, if she is doing much better than me, I'm of the belief that anybody I connect with, I normally commonize myself in their behaviors after a while. So maybe when we initially met, she was here. But I promise you, 3 to 5 years, that's not going to be the result. And it's not that I'm competing. It's just that my natural nature is I'm never going to be the guy. I mean, I don't care who I hang with. I would say this. I had a semi-pro guy playing golf. He was teaching me from my church, and he said, "You want to learn golf?" I said, "Yeah." And we went over there. 1 year, he trained me in playing golf. And he said, my only problem with you, Ricardo, he says, you just started playing this year. Stop trying to play with me. I said, what do you mean? He says, I've been playing this from I was 14. I'm 56 years old. He says, you just started. He said, why are you trying to play with me? And our entire time, I frustrated him because I was trying to play with his energy.
Right.
And then I later learned that's just me now. I'm inclined to match the behavior to the environment that I find myself in. So in regards to a wife having made more than me or making more than me, I welcome it. Please know that's not going to stay that way. I'm going to get better with age. And then I believe in leading the way. I believe I'm a leader, and I believe that over time I would speak to the fact. And if it stays that she's continually progressive, I'm not against it either. I think both of us will ultimately be rewarded for it, because if she keeps climbing and I keep climbing, both of us are going to clearly keep doing better.
And that's more for the home. That's more for both of you. I mean, so that's how I look at it. So. A lot of people they are inferior. A lot of people have a problem with that. And I'm going to be honest with you, even when I came up, when I was like dating females, if they had money, I welcomed it. I ain't have no problem with that. A lot of times I look at them, when it comes to paying the bill. I'm just kidding. Y'all don't take that serious out there. I was just playing on that one. I'm a gentleman. I take care of the bill.
All right.
I was playing. Okay, Deacon Smith, how you feel about that?
Well, I'm fine with it because Deborah and I mean, I might have been here at one point, and then all of a sudden, Deborah started getting the promotions, and director and senior director. So she done got up here.
Right.
So I said, well, I had no problem with it. I was glad for it.
Yeah.
So I started climbing, we got a little neck to neck, and she went up a little bit further. I said, okay, now.
Look, he's listening.
Yeah. I said, all that's great, but hey, if they do it, they do it. I mean, I would not knock my wife would say anything about it. I just love it because she's being blessed, and I feel like I'm being blessed.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's the way. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Pastor Claire, your opinion on that?
Listen, I got no problem with that at all. I know what I'm going to bring to the table, and if you exceeding me, man, because I'm going to, like Pastor Ricardo said, I got to keep climbing. So that's good. That's more for the home, like you said, Doc. So I'm totally good with that. I think the only challenge a lot of men may have with that is the attitude that the woman might take, if that is the case. But I think for a lot of men may not necessarily have an issue with that, especially in today's world.
Yeah. Let me say that with this day's world, I think for mothers with sons coming up, please note, if you still carry that whole element of I should be making more and I have to make more, you're going to do bad in this society today, because women are all out there progressing in every level you can imagine. Yeah. And you're right. There are some women who want their man to do better, but there are a lot of women it doesn't matter to them. And we're living in a different world. So I think at the end of the day, that our young men coming up, you got to commit to doing your best and bringing the most value to your family and whoever God allows. So I met a family the other day, a few years back, who the child got picked up in a movie and both parents were working for the child.
Wow.
It's a unique place to be in. They both now just manage the child's career, and their income comes from managing their child, who that's not what they initially birthed the child for, but that's where favor came to their house to take care of them as a family.
Which is great. That is great. I wish I could do that. That's something I would love to do. Have my son, be in films and stuff like that, and and manage his career, because that'll help him out. You know what I'm saying? Keep it in the family, make sure everything's straight for him, and that's a good thing. That's definitely a good thing. Okay, the next question. Study shows that money panic impacts men. What advice would you give them to get back on track? And I'm gonna start with you, Deacon Dan. It says that study shows that money panic impacts men. What advice would you give them to get back on track if they start panicking because of money?
My number one advice to them is just like this, simple as this. If you pray, you don't worry. If you worry, you don't pray. Because I found that if you can panic about money, you ain't praying. Because God already said He gonna provide you with everything you need.
Right.
So why should I panic? I even look at my wife. It was years ago. She said, I'm trying to think. We had something that probably was I don't know, was it a bill or something happened to a vehicle or something like that. I ain't panicked, And I said, you got a little nervous? She said, yeah, I got a little nervous. I said, I won't worry about it, because I know God was gonna provide for us. So that's my philosophy in that. That's the way I do it.
Excellent.
That's the way I do it. I would not panic about money, because God said, I'm gonna give you what you need. So that's I don't panic about that.
I like that, Deacon Dan. In addition, I'll just go ahead and say these two things. I think about whenever financial challenges would have presented itself to me, I'll say something like, this too shall pass, and this won't break me.
Right.
With the help of God, this didn't come to break me, and it's going to pass. It's just a temporary situation that I won't allow myself to be labeled as weak enough to cause this to shut me down. This too shall pass.
Right.
That's right. That's
Lord,
excellent.
help me to ascend to the level of my Deacon Smith and Pastor Miller. I am not there yet, but I'm trying, Lord. Amen.
That's right.
Hey, you will receive it. You believe it, you will receive it.
Yes, yes.
All right, go ahead,
Listen,
Pastor Clay. Go on and finish it, Pastor Clay. Go on and finish it out. How you feel about it?
but yeah, it's a normal thing for man because I think genuinely men want to do well, and the purpose behind wanting to do well is because they want to do well by their families, and so whenever things seem like it's going to go off rail or it's going off rail, they get a little anxious and stressed out about it, and I'll just say I don't think you should get stressed out about it, but it should be a matter of concern, because when it's a concern, at least you have it before you and there's a desire to do something about it. And so if you're going to do something about it, do an action plan. Look at it and see what can you do to help reel it back in. Look for another source of income or find a way to eliminate some of the smaller debts. Whatever you can do to try to rein it in. Begin to think about your strategy. What's your exit plan? How you're going to get out of it from where you are. It's possible. It's possible.
Right. And I would say this as well. My thing is, coming up, you didn't have it from the beginning. What did you do in the beginning to get it? So if you're going through a whole lot of problems, trials, and tribulations, think about what you did from the beginning to get to where you are. Don't panic, and I do believe in the power of prayer as well. That's the first thing. I do believe in the power of prayer, but just know that it will get better. It will get better. You just got to put your mind to it, stay on course, get back to where you were, and it'll happen for you. It will happen. Don't panic, because when you panic, all it does is make it worse.
Right.
And then when you panic, the people around you panic. And when the people around you panic and everybody's panicking, what you do then? What do? You're the person that's supposed to have some kind of action plan to get things back on course. Get it back on course, and it will happen for you. God is not going to throw things at you that you would not be able to deal with. It could be heavy. It could be a whole lot of downfall, but at the same time, God will give you that strength to get back to where you need to be. So just pray. Okay, gentlemen. Closing thoughts. And we're going to go ahead and start the closing thoughts with Deacon Smith. Go ahead, Deacon Smith. Closing thoughts on today and the man and his money.
Okay, my closing thought is the rule of thumb. Where is thy faith? And what do you pray? You got to have faith that these things that come before you will come to pass, because we got a mighty God that we serve. So don't worry, don't panic. You pray, and you have the patience. As I told one of my middle son, when he retired, he went in the trucking business. He retired from the sheriff's office. He went in the trucking business. He had one truck already. He wanted another truck. But what I had told him, I said, son, you should have went in the drop for 3 years. And when you got to come out of the drop, you had enough cash to do what you want to do. So, but he needed additional cash. And I just told him, no, you got to have patience. I'm willing to help him, but now, wait a minute. You got to have patience. So he had the patience. Eventually, he got that truck. Wow. Then it's doing real well.
That's great.
But all I tell you got to pray, you got to have the patience, and you got to have faith.
Okay. All right, Pastor Claire, your final and closing thoughts.
I would always leave this with especially men. The Bible says this. It says, don't wear yourself out trying to get rich. So keep that in mind. But I'll also leave this with us. It only takes 3 things to become wealthy. And that's a source of income, time, and discipline. Most of us have 2 of those.
Right.
Okay.
Most of us have. Ain't that the truth?
All right, Coach Miller. What you got for
Wow,
final?
that's so good. I'm still trying to chew on what Pastor Claire just said. I was like, Jesus Christ. You know, I thought that was so good. But my advice about a man and the money, don't be afraid to study money. The Bible says, in all you're getting, get an understanding. And wisdom is the principal thing, and all you're getting an understanding. There are just too many people who haven't taken the time to get an understanding. And if you're not doing well with money, as the scripture says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, go ahead and study to show yourself approved. Become very informed, very highly intelligent in regards to money, and then move it from just knowing about money to implementing what you've discovered so that you can have the benefit of what you've discovered. Work it until you make it as you discover the truth so you can accumulate the kind of money Deacon Dan has in the backdrop of it.
Right. That's on all everything that you gentlemen just said are all excellent closing thoughts, all excellent things for people to take notice of and to remember. And I would say for my closing thought, I would say start at a basic, at a young age with your kids and teaching them, how to deal with money, and still, a habit of saving and create opportunities for them to learn how to earn money and, and just go from there. And as they grow, they'll start knowing what to do with money, how to invest money, how to save money, know what to do with money and teach them about credit. I'm telling you, everybody talks about money, but if your credit is bad, money ain't gonna mean nothing because nowadays you can't really buy nothing with solid cash anymore. They want to pull background checks and do all of this other stuff and, teach them about credit as well. Well, I just want to say that it's been a joy and a blessing talking to these three gentlemen today. I had a good time. I always do. And this is something that's very, very special and something that's need to be said on the different levels, to teach everyone, not just teach young men, but men and women and young women as well. And I'm just happy and glad to be a part of it. And I just want to say that, God is good all the time. Just pray, okay? And believe in God and everything will pull you through. And I just want to say so long to everybody. Thanks for tuning in on this Saturday to Coach Deborah Smith's Build Your Best Life conversation with the guys. And we'll definitely be looking forward to seeing you all again soon. So stay blessed, stay safe, and we love y'all. Peace.
But let me say one thing before we leave.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. This book, Build Your Best Life. Okay? It got a lot of good tips in this book. And I'm getting with some of the officers that I know. Hey, man, y'all need to look at this book. A friend of mine, his son-in-law runs this camp where they're in Atlanta, where he has about 20, 25 young men that didn't make the scholarship in the football, but he's training them and they are getting scholarships, to these different schools. And I'm planning on sending 25 books up there.
Wow, that's great. That's excellent.
So it help, help the young men up there. Don't forget, you get this book, Build Your Best Life.
Build Your Best Life. Get that book. Go ahead, Coach Ricardo Miller.
Get that book.
Tell them about your book. Tell them about your book, Coach Ricardo Miller.
Now, I want to get that book and get that book to them students.
If you get this book and you use effective living, oh my word!
I know, right?
Yes, sir.
That's dual power right there. Get both.
That's it.
Effective living and get that Build Your Best Life, everybody. Please do, and make sure you subscribe to Coach Ricardo Miller's YouTube channel and Build Your Best Life with Coach Deborah Smith. Make sure you subscribe to that. And once again, thank y'all for joining us. And we look forward to seeing y'all again soon. Stay blessed and stay safe. And we love y'all.
Love you.
All right.